There.
Hello, my name is Joe Taylor, retired law enforcement officer from the state of Florida. A little bit about me, I was asked if I would do this, and I was going to do it last week, and I had to think about it. But before I get started, I'd like to do one thing. I would like to thank you for all the ones that wear a badge for the law enforcement, for the first responders. You were great. There is no way I could be a police officer today. I'm old school, and being old school, a little bit about me is when I started in 1981, I worked for the city police in South Florida, a small town called Belglade. It was in the southeast corner of Palm Beach County and sixth largest county in the state of Florida, down close to the Everglades. And when I come on board, I was handed a .38 revolver and a swing loose swivel holster. That's what they call it, swivel holster, with a dump pouch. I was given a old mag light and probably 12 extra bullets to go with my 6-shooter and a pair of handcuffs, and it was crazy. Nightstick. You remember the old billy sticks, real long ones you could twirl, and had the long cord on them, and had a slapjack, and that was it. You know, some of us had vests, some of us didn't. None of our cars had cages in them, and single lights. Just the old good old boy type police department. You know, we didn't have shotguns. The only guys that had shotguns were sergeants and lieutenants. And so that was it. That's what you had, and that was your go out. We had training. We went to the police academy and all that, but still, all in all, those were the good old days. And then we graduated. We went up to, I went to a .357 Magnum, and had the old L-frame model, and I loved that thing. And then I went from the dump pouch to a speed loaders, and then we also had the, I don't know if y'all remember them, we called them the pancake holsters. They were actually, you hit a button and they open up. And you better have a hold of your revolver when you open the door, when you open it up, because if you didn't, it's going to fall on the ground. And then we went from that to a open front, where you hit the button and it was just, the whole front was open, and you would just push down and pull forward, and it would just snap right out. We had those. They were real popular. And then I went to a cross draw for a while, and I actually asked if I could get the swing holsters and put a little cord on it and be like the cowboy, you know, like a swivel. It wouldn't let me do that, but anyway. I had a gift. I'm switch-handed. I'm right-handed, but I'm also left-handed. So it was great in sports in high school. I throw right-handed but bat left-handed. That was crazy. And I can write as well as I can both hands. I eat a lot. When you'll see me eating or something, I'll be eating my left hand all the time. So just blessed doing that. But a little bit before my law enforcement days, I was raised in a Christian home. I'm not proud of my life. I had strict parents, went to a private school, and painted this pretty picture of the town that I grew up in. We had 15,000, and season time it went to 25,000. The crops there were the winter crops, vegetables and sugar cane. That was real big. My dad was a farmer. I tell everybody all the time that my dad raised cane, and raised cane at home and raised cane in the field. And going to a private school and being in a strict home and going to church all the time, I became a good church member. Went to all the youth groups and summer camps and all of that, but there was a problem in my life, and it was the emptiness. And that emptiness was that I was lost. Yes, I was a great church member, but being a church member is not the answer. It's a relationship. And that relationship with Jesus Christ I did not have. And sadly, the whole time I was in law enforcement, I was a lost church member. Anyway, I did some undercover work and kind of worked some rough stuff. We worked, prostitution was real big. Dope was real big. Actually, marijuana, I mean, if you had marijuana, you was somebody. There was cocaine come in at the very last. We never dealt with meth. We never, the flake, all that stuff y'all do now. I didn't deal with none of that. It was marijuana. If you had marijuana, you were somebody. Cocaine back then was the rich man's drug. We hardly ever dealt with cocaine on the road. Never. It was marijuana. And so y'all guys that have to work with all the people that do all the different drugs, my hat's off to you. I couldn't imagine that. Anyway, I did that. The 8mm was pretty rough. I never dealt with that before. And that sex crowd, when you're raised in a tight, strict home, and then you get graduated to the filthiness of this world, it changes your whole life. And just sitting here talking. Now I'm a minister, and I do videos all the time. Our church videos, we're on camera all the time, and when I was asked to do this, it was difficult, because I wanted to make sure I said the right thing and not come around falsely to you that's going to be hearing this, but to get serious with you and to let you know that even though it might look like your life is turned upside down, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a situation where it's out of control. I will tell you that I've been in too many close calls. I remember this one time we had a policy at our department that if a car went in the water, do not go in. Call the dive team. And we went to a call where a station wagon. When was the last time you seen a family station wagon? And vans back then were just work vans, not like they are today. and the car went in the canal. It was just a small drainage ditch. She was in the seatbelt. She couldn't get out. She was chest deep in water. And we knew it wasn't going to go any deeper, but she didn't know that. 5 kids in the background screaming and hollering, trying to get out of the car. They're in water, panicking. And I looked over at the other officer, and I said, Ken, I don't know about you, buddy, but I can't sit here. I'm not going to sit here. I'm going to go in the water. And he said, me too. And we both went in. We didn't care about the consequences, what we were going to face. All I was thinking about was a screaming woman and 5 kids screaming. They didn't know that the car wasn't going to go any deeper, but, didn't matter. They were all panicking. So we got her out, got them out. We got chewed out pretty good at the scene by our supervisor. We were both sent home to get cleaned up, get our fresh uniforms on, and while we were there, we both decided I didn't talk to him. I didn't know that he didn't do it, but I left my vest at home. It was wet. I didn't want to wear a wet vest. And we had a department policy that if you were issued a vest, you will wear it. And, I wore it all the time when it rained. I don't know about y'all, but man, we had these rain suits. Man, they were stupid. You would put it on, and it'd be raining, and then you get back in your car, and you got this raincoat on, and then everything is wet inside your car from getting into it, and then all the water is draining into the back of your shirt. And so we just quit wearing our raincoats. We got just as wet with them off as we did with them on. The only time that we wore them all the time was if we were actually doing traffic control, standing out in the weather, directing traffic in a rainstorm. Other than that, when we went to a call, we never put our raincoats on. It was a waste of time. And but anyway, I left my vest at home. I come back to work. Well, number one, I got a 3-day suspension. So when I got off, had to finish my shift. But after that, I had 3 days vacation on compliments of going in the water. Ken got the same 3-day suspension. And then I noticed we were sitting he was a cover car, I was a cover car. Our sector we had 4 zones. We had a sergeant on the road, a detective was always on the road, and the lieutenant was on the road, and then we had a canine officer, of course, and then we had 2 cover cars along with the zone cars. And he was south cover, I was north cover that day, and we were sitting at the bank, and the cover cars had to stay on the road until the next shift got on duty. The midnight shift was coming on. And we were out on the road, and I was saying, man, I cannot believe this. We haven't got any calls, and I ain't got my vest on. It was soaking wet. He goes, funny thing, I didn't even have mine on either. And we were joking about it. We were sitting there 5 minutes from going to the station. And then all of a sudden, the alert tone come out. And I went, oh my gosh, of all places, Little Harlem Bar. So we both responded, and he got there, and I was right behind him, and we both got out of the car, and everybody was bailing out of the bar. I mean, we could already hear shots fired. So I called in, called for backup, and told them shots were being fired, and midnight shift was trying to scramble to their cars and trying to switch out the 311 shift and get down there. And so it was just me and him for 5 minutes. I mean, we knew our backup was coming, but it was going to be a few minutes. And as soon as he opened the door, I got blood splatter on me. And I didn't realize, I didn't know. I was in total shock that what just happened? Where did all this stuff come from that's on me? And I was in a daze. 2 guys were already deceased on the ground. There was 2 guys on the ground fighting over a gun. Come out to find out later it was a .44 Magnum. And there was another guy across the bar that was shooting. And I jumped down behind a table. I seen the guys fighting. I didn't really care about no fighting. They were fighting over that gun. I was worried about the other guy shooting at me. And shot him twice, and I was scared. I was just shooting, I was just shooting back. I'm inside a bar. You got noise, and you got screaming and hollering, and you don't know what you can't make out with everything going on. I'm still trying to figure out where all this blood's coming from. And I shot the guy twice, and unfortunately, I shot him in both his legs. Around his knee area. And then I saw the fight, and I jumped in on the fight. Now there's two guys, and they're fighting over a 44 Magnum pistol. And the guy that's actually fighting is fighting with the guy that just shot the two guys on the ground. And then all of a sudden, my peripheral vision, I caught another blue uniform coming in to the dog pile. And I looked, and it was Ken. He had gotten, we found out later, he had gotten grazed on the side of his neck. And it just missed his jugular vein. And so when the bullet went across here, I got splattered, because I was this side of him. So when he walked in, he got hit, I got hit. But from him, not me. And we were fighting. And next thing I know, the gun goes off. And the guy that actually was holding the gun like this, and it come out later that I think Ken, I don't know who shot it, but the guy that was actually had the gun, the bullet went off and went right through his hand. And when it did, his hand was like, my face was like right here. And his hand was right here, because everybody had their hand on the gun. And his hand's right here, and then all of a sudden, it goes off, and now not only do I have Ken's blood on me, now I got this guy's blood on me, because the injury from the hand, it hit me right there. And so it was right here. So here I am, twice, coming in the door and on the dog pile. I got missed twice from getting shot in the head. Crazy night. We both had to go to the hospital. I was treated for shock, of course. Plus dealing with all the blood on me and the messed up thing that was. And you go back to the police station, and you're doing your reports. And no computer, all handwrite. Writer's cramp from writing. And I'm sitting there still trying to focus on everything, what's going on. Trying to get the story right in my head and all this. And after doing all that writing and doing all that stuff, they said, okay, you can go home now. Oh, this is a 3-day reprimand for not wearing your vest. And I said, well, I just got 3 days off. So okay, we'll just make that a reprimand. But you should have had your vest on. I said, yeah, but I didn't. He said, don't matter. The thing is, you're to wear your vest. So I was looking at a 3-day off already for going in the water. And then I got a reprimand for not having my vest on. And I did my report, and as far as they were concerned, case over. But all this stuff that happened to me that night, I had no words to put into the back of my mind. And sadly, on the road, when we do stuff, you do your report, you turn it in, it's turned over to D Bureau, and it's over with. And you get it, and you store it in the back of your head, and you store it in the back of your head, and you store it in the back of your head. And then I think probably some of the worst calls to go to. You know, I'm sitting there talking on the side of the road on a day shift with one of the sergeants. a guy walks up and gets a rifle, and before we can tell him to put it down, he shoots another guy right in the face, killed him right there in broad daylight. We were just sitting there on the side of the road, on the outside of our car, sitting. I actually was leaning against the back of my car, and this guy shot it, and he put the gun down and said, "I'm in, I'm in." And I said, "No, you're going to jail." He goes, "No, I'm in." And that was his initiation to get into a gang, was to kill another person. And it didn't matter if he was going to go to jail, he got into this gang by that. Crazy world. And we've had some fun stuff, and we did some crazy stuff. And I remember when they took the nightsticks from us, and they come out with a baton. It was a side handle baton, but it's called a PR-24. And it was hilarious. We had a sergeant that was with the K9. We were training, and he lost grips with it, and it flew right out the window where we were at the police station. It had a 2-story window, and went and landed on somebody's car outside in the parking lot. You know, it was just hilarious. Some different stuff that we did, we had to do. And then I remember I worked a couple of accidents where cars in the canal. And if you never worked a car in the canal call, that'd mess you up. Working in South Florida, we were very busy. Probably a murder a week, if not 1 or 2 a day. Stabbings, shootings, rape, accidents, suicides, plane crashes. Had a friend of mine that was a crop duster, and his plane hit the lines. He hadn't been in the air 5 minutes, so he was fully loaded. And I knew him. Lived right down the road from where I lived, grew up. And he worked for a man that we knew. And I had just seen him that morning before I went on the road. In fact, I was on the road. And I went by and I saw my neighbor, and he was there. We were talking. He lived right across the road from him. And said, "I'm going to go flying." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll probably see you later," you know, and all that. Just never thought I would see him later in the situation I saw him in. You know, we got a call of a plane crash, and we don't get them much, and so that's when you don't get that call a lot, and you have to look up the code to see what call it is. And before you can find it on the sheet what it is, then somebody asks, "What is that?" And the dispatcher just comes right out and forgets department policy about doing proper words on there. It was actually supposed to do all TINS codes and signals. And she just out told him it was a plane crash. And I never thought it would be him. I never thought the plane crash would be that. I knew it was going to be a crop duster, and the county couldn't make it, so we were at the outskirts of the city, and I was dispatched out. And I saw the plane. I knew exactly that only one company had those color planes. And I knew that my neighbor wasn't flying, and there was only 2 guys that worked for that. So if my neighbor's not flying, this is the guy that I just talked to. And he's calling my name and going, "Joe, help me. Joe, help me. Please put me out of my misery." And I actually pulled my gun out. I was going to shoot him with my 357 Magnum. And I was actually going to walk up as close as I could to him. And you were saying, "Why would you do that?" His plane was burning. It was full of chemical. It was full of fuel. It's smoking. I could see the flames. And my sergeant was there, and he grabbed me and said, "I'm sorry, son, you can't do that." I said, "I can't sit there and watch him burn like that." He said, "I'm sorry, son, you can't do that." He called me son. a sergeant call an officer's son. That was just kind of odd to me. But he made the right decision because, number one, when the plane did blow up, when it caught on fire and finally just when the explosion that happened there, I would have been taken out. Really, really hard to deal with. Seeing a friend burn up in a plane crash. But we're not supposed to worry about that. We're supposed to do the report. Don't worry about the death notification. We had detectives that would do that. But I had to go home and tell your dad that his best friend got killed in a plane crash. Or the kid riding a bike and a car hits him and drags him down the highway. And you get there and he's maybe 8 years old and you just sit down on the ground with him and hold him in your arms and you see him all busted up. How do you deal with that? How do you just go and pick an 8-year-old kid up in your arms and let him bleed and hold him while he dies? And then go to a station and do a report. And forget about it. You can't. And then went to a call one time and firefight broke out. And you go, well, how'd that go? I said, I don't know. They're shooting at us at nighttime and we're shooting back. We're just shooting into flashes. Never saw anybody. They were shooting at us and we were shooting back into flashes. You get over there, you don't find anybody, but you find shell casings all over the place. Surprised that you're not dead. Surprised that you haven't been killed. Falling downstairs, been in car accidents. I remember my brother had gotten married and I been back about 2 weeks. I went to a call and long story short, I turned my leg around backwards in a hole, in a fall. And I can't explain to you the agony that I had that day, but I highly do not recommend putting one leg in a hole and doing a 360 split. But I did, and developed blood clots in my leg, and I was 27 years old and decorated officer and had my whole life ahead of me at 27. And here I am looking at a career-ending injury. But, you know, I remember the neurosurgeon coming in and telling that doctor, he said, oh no, we ain't taking this boy's leg. We're gonna save this guy. I don't care how long it takes, we're not gonna let this guy go down like this. I remember, I tell you, it was on a Sunday morning, and the paramedic was there with me, and we were going to the hospital. And he said, Joe, is it all right if I just pray for you? I'm like, yeah, sure. But I don't really remember much of that. I think I passed out. While he was praying for me, I just passed out. I was in a lot of pain. They'd already gave me morphine. I'd already had 2 shots of morphine in me. I was pretty messed up. Anyway, I get to the hospital. I'm kind of in and out of it, and then I look at the doctor and say, "Doctor, I can handle it, man. I've seen everything. Just how is it?" He said, "I'm sorry, son. We're gonna take your leg. You had no blood flow. Just nothing we can do for you, and we'll just see you then." And I remember them going to my parents' house, and because I wasn't married, and telling my dad, they went to my dad's house, and my mom and dad were divorced, and at that time, and my dad said, "Did he suffer?" That was just, when they come to his door, he already knew what was happened. It was me, and he just said, "I just want to know, did he suffer much?" He said, "He suffered, but he's still alive." And of course, I told my mom was hysterical, of course. And it only happened like 2 blocks from my house, where I was living. Anyway, long story short, a doctor come out and told my family, "Well, he's died twice on the table. It's only your God that's going to get him through this." So from probably 8:30 surgery to 2 o'clock in the morning, I come out with 65 staples down the side of my leg and a tube in there to let it drain, and they saved my leg and took out 7 blood clots. But it didn't end my career. I wasn't done. I said, "No way. This is not going to put me down." And then a few years later, I think it was 1988, you got these devils, these demons. They're aggravating you. In the first part of 88, I had took about as much as I could take of all the junk and everything that I had worked in the back of my mind. And I had enough. And I pulled out my 357 Magnum. And I knew exactly what I was going to do. And I put it up to my head. And I tried to pull that trigger, and it would not pull. And the next thing I know, somebody slaps the hood of my truck. And it's my brother. And he scares me half to death. And I threw the gun down, and I just hit it in drive and took off, and he chased me. And finally I just stopped in the middle of a cane field and jumped and said, "What are you doing?" And he just run up and hugged me and said, "I love you, man, don't do that." I said, "I can't take no more of it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the demons. I'm tired of the nightmares. I can't handle it no more." So I figured I'd just go somewhere else and get away from the city. So I moved to North Florida, a place called Quincy, Florida, the Gaston County Sheriff's Office there. I'd almost got a job in Georgia at 2 different agencies. And found out I was going to be a 1-man crew or a 2-man crew. And I kind of said, "Man, what am I going to do that for? I know what it's like to work. I don't want to work with just another guy or by myself." So I went to work. I finally got a job in Florida. And I have to admit, everything that I learned, I earned a bachelor's degree, taking college classes. And at Belgrade, everything you did, every time you took a college course, you'd get an incentive pay. And so I was just trying to build up my incentive pay, and it might be a quarter or a dime or whatever on a paycheck, but still it was teaching me something too, and learned a little bit of education and earned a bachelor's degree. And I was with the county, and that was different calls we'd go to, and it's sad when you go to a small county when you got a 4-page application. Now you got to understand, when I worked at Belglade, my application was 35 pages. So when you go to a county, they only got 4 pages. And then all your combinations and all your certificates from all your training is thicker than your application. So I'm actually, it might have said Gaston County, but I actually was working for Mayberry RFD as a guarantee of what I was working for. The sheriff had been there several years. He was a retired state trooper. And we had, they had 2 types of cars. They had the Crown Vic, which I drove Crown Vic, so I had Impalas that I drove with the city. But I liked the Chevrolet over the Ford. I didn't like the Ford cars because the seats were real cushiony, and and I was 6'8". So for me, trying to get into a Crown Vic at 6'8", it's tight fit. So they said you can have a Crown Vic, or you can have a Caprice Classic or an Impala. And I went, wow, I actually get to pick my car? They said, yeah. So I took the Caprice. And they said, okay, report over to it was a brand new car, no miles on it, brand spanking new. And probably just the miles they got it from the local, they ordered them through the dealership there and a police package. And I get my car, and they said, take it over to the garage, they're going to get you a cage. And I got in, and old Kurt said, okay, Joe, just get your seat where you're comfortable, and then I'll put the cage in. I went, are you kidding me? He goes, no, we're going to put your cage in. Well, from the back of my cage to the back of my seat was like this much, maybe 8 inches. And I'm thinking, if I put somebody in the back of my car, they're not going to be able to sit up. I said, well, I guess they can lay down. You know, they have plenty of time to sit up in the jail. So they didn't care. That's how they fixed it, all the cars. And I had a shotgun. My goodness, I had my 9mm, and they issued me another gun, and they were 45 Colt Commander, and had a shotgun in my car, and had a rifle in my car. And the sheriff was real big about ammunition. He wanted you to have plenty of ammunition. And I asked him one time, why did they have all this ammunition for all these weapons? And they said, because your nearest backup is 25 minutes. And we figured that would give you enough ammunition to fight off the bad guys until your backup could get there. I'm thinking if I shot that many times, I'd probably be dead by then. But you know what I found out? I found out that just because I left South Florida and moved to North Florida, the demons followed. Because the demons that I had was still in the back of my mind. And all the corruption that I saw in South Florida, and broken homes, and the murders and the suicides and the drugs, all I did was change locations. Yes, it was with the county. Yes, it was a different department. Yes, we only had one blue light on top of our car, like the good old Smokey and the Bandit days. But still, the demons come with it. And, you know, it was just as bad. Still saw the house fires, still saw the murders, still saw the shooting. We went to a shooting one time, and this guy was full of holes, and me and 2 other deputies, one deputy was doing CPR, and me and the other deputy actually had gloves on, and we got our fingers and stuck them in the holes, trying to stop the blood from coming out every time the guy was doing CPR. And every time he would do compressions, we kept seeing blood come out the back, and we couldn't figure out what it was until we finally turned him over and realized there was no back. The guy why he got shot with, just opened him up. Or watching somebody commit suicide with a dog chain and be this far from the ground, just an inch. I had to admit, probably all in all, the worst call I ever went to was definitely a career-ending call. And I really can't talk about it. In law enforcement, you have different groups. I will tell you this. I was on this group with the department. All departments have them. They might not want to admit it, but they're there. I was a member of it. And am I proud of it? Then, yes. Now, no. Would you like to talk about it? Yes. But I can't. But I do remember the time that I did go to a call. I was at that time again, the demons showed up. This time, I didn't have a 357 Magnum in my hand. I had a 45. And those stupid alert tones, I tell you what, I don't know y'all, but them alert tones drive you crazy sometimes. I'm sitting up there at the side of the interstate, overlooking the canyon. It's North Florida's hilly country. Had my 45 out, actually had it looking at it, and I put it up against the temple. And I knew I wouldn't be able to pull the trigger, so I just cocked it. So now all I gotta do is just pulling the trigger, and it's over with. And right when I got it to my head, the alert tone went off. And when I did, I jerked my head to see what call it was. And when I jerked my head, the gun went off. And I didn't shoot myself, but when I turned my head, the bullet went off and it missed me. I believe if that alert tone had not gone off, I'd have been dead right now. And you're saying, why would you want to kill yourself? The demons. There's demons out there. You know what the problem was? I wouldn't talk to nobody about it. I figured they would go away. They didn't go away. They were there. They were real. I wanted so bad for it to end. But I wouldn't talk to nobody. And I went to a call, and it was a knife call, and we had been there before, and they said we got backup coming, and I told them, I said, don't worry about backup, I can handle it today by myself. Number one, for me to cancel backup, for anybody to cancel backup, is suicide. Going to where we were going. We got in, I walked into the house, I had my shotgun in my hand. And they were fighting with swords, and they had already cut a couple of people, and I pulled my shotgun out and said, okay, this is what the situation is. We're going to fight, and you might kill me. And there's a good chance I'm not going to come out of this trailer. But I'm taking some of y'all with me. And I said, do you want to be first? And had the gun looking right at him. And I mean, it was right underneath his chin. And then I pulled it away from his chin and put it on another guy's chin. Or is it you? And anyway, it didn't go the way I wanted it to. So I ended up putting them all in jail. And then when I opened the door, there was 6 deputies out in the parking lot, out in the yard. Because they heard me cancel, and those guys knew that I was already flaky. And they knew I was trying to kill myself on a call. Or the haunted mansions that we dealt with, or all the other crazy stuff in the county. But I had this one call. Needless to say, it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. And I really can't go into detail. And if I did, I probably wouldn't be able to handle it again. But I want to read something to you. What happened that day It changed my life forever. And it took that for me to realize that if I had not survived that call, I'd be in hell today. You know, you can go to church. You can be the best church member there is. But I was just a lost church member all those years. And I asked God, I said, if He'll get me out of this mess, I'll change my life. It took a few months because I had to get over my injuries. And you know how you get after calls and you make promises to God and then all of a sudden you don't do them. And I remember a friend of mine, I went back to South Florida. My grandmother had passed away and I went back to South Florida. And I was just messing around on the TV, you know, I don't know, back then, at midnight TV goes off. Nothing comes on, it's just off. There was no direct TVs and stuff like that when I was a cop, when I was around. You didn't have cell phones that much. If there were, they were just the big ones, and there wasn't computers like they are today, and there was not internets and social media, and there was no all-night TV and no direct TV, none of that. It was just TV went off at midnight. And in 1990, I was searching. I've tried to kill myself twice. I've been in firefights. I've had close calls, seen devastation, and I was just tired of running. And I went to church, and the guy was preaching on the power of prayer, of all things to be preaching on. The power of prayer. And we were driving after church that night. We were driving around and I just started crying. Me crying, was in a sniper unit and a traffic homicide. Why would a guy like that start crying after a church service? And I told my friend, I said, you need to stop the car. They said, it's raining. I said, I don't care what it's doing. We got to stop this car. We pulled over into the area and where I'm from, Belglade, and it was out at the marina on the lake, and I got out of the car and I just collapsed, fell on my knees in the rain, in the soggy grass, held on to the front of that wheel and that front bumper of that car, and I cried out to God and said, God, if you're the real God that I know you are, and if you'll forgive me, God, I want to get saved. I want to repent my life and get things right and give it all to you, because I've sure made a mess of my life. I'm tired of being a lost church member. And I give it all to you. It's all yours. Just change me, God. I'm tired of the drinking. I'm tired of the smoking the cigars. I'm tired of the crap in my life. I'm tired of trying to kill myself. I'm just tired of the demons. I'm just tired of it, God. I need your help. And I remember 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things become new. And I remember getting home that night to my aunt's house, and when I opened it, she opened the door to let me in, and she goes, I can't explain this, Joe, but I don't know what happened, but you're not the same guy that left here. There was a different presence about you. And then I remember everybody was I told them what I did. Everybody was excited. I still had to go home though. I went home, I was living with a girl. I was living with one of our dispatchers. And just shacking up. And I told her what had happened and what I did. And she just started laughing at me. And the person that I thought that I was in love with just laughed at me because of what I'd done. And I said, you could just stay living here. I don't care what you do, but I'm moving. I'm moving out. I just can't stay here in this relationship because of the fact I'm a new person now. And I want to let you know, whoever hears this and whoever watches this, there's hope in your life too. This is just one story of a retired cop that's now a preacher. In 2000, I started a cops ministry. Sold out to God in 1991. I got saved, and truly saved. And I haven't looked back. I've gone and I wrote some gospel tracts. And I've had several police officers that I worked with read them. And I've had a chance to witness to police officers and deputies. The guys that I worked with, I went back and talked to them. And they said, man, if God can change you, He can change me. And a lot of them got saved. A lot of them's not the same guys that were when I was, they're all different too. And I would talk to cops and I would say, let me ask you a question. They're different ones. I said, I just need to ask you a question. I said, how in the world could I go home and treat my wife how I saw other men treat their wives? Why would I want to go home to misery like I saw on the road? How could I raise two boys and treat them the way their mom and dad treated them? So if I look back at law enforcement and it helped me a lot. It helped me look at life a different way. I made a decision that I wasn't going to treat my family that way. That I was not going to treat my kids the way that I saw parents treat their kids. There's good days with law enforcement, there's a lot of bad days. And I'm going to tell you another verse here that's really helped me a lot. And that's Philippians 4:13. It says, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthened me. If you're just playing church, you need to quit. We all know that in law enforcement, people are going to die at 1, 2, 3, 13, 60, 100. When your gap in time is up, it's up. I should have been dead a long time ago. Between the car crashes and I was in a patrol car that caught on fire after an accident, and I was pulled out. Should have burned up. Should have died from gunshot wounds, from being stabbed and beat up with a baseball bat, beat up with a crowbar. I mean, I didn't go into everything that happened to me. I don't have enough time to tell you everything that happened to me. But most active cops that I know have all been through some stuff. But don't make the mistake I made. My mistake was I didn't talk to nobody. I didn't reach out to a chaplain. I didn't reach out to a minister. I didn't do the things I should have done. I should have reached out to another police officer, but I didn't. My reaching out to police officers were what we call choir practice, where the squad gets together and drinks and has barbecue and talks about our calls and laughs about them and tries to forget about them. Call somebody. You can even call me. I live in Texas now, and I am where I pastor at Ambassador Baptist Church here in Ennis, Texas. And I'm also have a cops ministry to law enforcement and first responders, and I'm a chaplain, certified chaplain with them. And we have other chaplains that are law enforcement officers and firefighters. And you can reach out and you can get a hold of us. And we would love to talk to you. Don't make the mistake I did and not talk to somebody. Eating a gun is not the answer. Swallowing a bunch of pills is not the answer. Becoming an alcoholic, even if you don't want to admit it or not, is not the answer. The answer is Jesus Christ. How do you know? Because I know what He did in my life. And if He can change a messed up life of mine, then you have no problems. It says in John 3:16, for God so loved the world that for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish but have everlasting life. And I told you the verse, and you know that verse is everywhere. But if I had to say anything, think about this. He's already died on the cross for you and me. He's already done the work. He did the humiliation of being stripped down naked and beat and pulled the beard out and everything they did to Him. He's already did all that. I deserved it, but He already did it for me. And He died on the cross, and He died for each one of you. I'm just telling you, there is hope at the end of the tunnel. And that hope is Jesus Christ. And I ask you that think about that. Think about what we face. I'm not trying to push church down your throat. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to tell you what Jesus Christ did for me. Hey, I am now a preacher. And I also have a chaplain. It's called Crusaders Law Enforcement Outreach. Or you can also find it under Crusaders Outreach Ministries. Same guys. And we would love to talk to you. We have plenty of guys that are active law enforcement and retired, and active firefighters and retired. And we would love to talk to you. You can just look me up on Facebook. You can, you'll see I have a tie like this with a shirt and have my cowboy hat on. It's very easy. to find me, locate me. It's not a problem. Or you can look up our Facebook page on Crusaders Law Enforcement Outreach. We would love to talk to you. But I want to just thank you once again. From the very bottom of my heart, we pray for you. My wife and I, every morning, have a prayer time, and we pray for y'all. And yes, I'm old school cop. But what y'all do today, I've never dealt with the hatred toward law enforcement that there is today. I never dealt with people getting up in my face and screaming and hollering and spitting on me, and I just couldn't do nothing about it. When I was a cop, we did something about it, but you didn't have all the media and all the cell phones and all that going on too. We just took care of business. But I know you can't do that now. But just thank you for what you do. And from the bottom of my heart, even though I don't know you, and you've met a little bit of me, if you have a badge and you wear a uniform or you're in plain clothes, let you know that I love you just like Jesus Christ loves you. God bless.
Okay.